Hello and welcome to Commodity Champions. I'm Manisha Gupta. The ONGC's chairman and managing director, Arun Kumar Singh, believes that the impact of geopolitical tensions of the sector will pass eventually. In a conversation with me at the India Energy Week 2025, Singh also spoke about the company's tie-up with BP as well as its exploration plans going forward. Let's listen in.
Geopolitically, probably, it is not that it is first time happening. So it is difficult, but not tough. But this also shall pass. This much we know. Our main issue remains our insatiable energy demand. And we believe now that world has plenty of supplies. Only thing, it is artificially getting blocked here and there. Otherwise, if the world had been truly global with no friction, no limitations, probably energy flow to any part of the world, because if you add all the capacity today available with the world, it is a world of surplus. So either it is some group of countries come together to block the supply, or some geopolitical issue comes up, some sanction comes up, some trade restriction comes up. So, but it will settle. It will settle. Because it is artificiality don't last long.
With the way we're looking at crude oil prices in a range, but very volatile within that space as well, where would you say, as ONGC, what range are you comfortable with?
Anything above 70 is okay with us. So, because as you may be knowing that we are not the highest cost producer. We are, maybe you can term us as a medium cost producer. So anything what I said is country and our interest both gets balanced at $70 environment.
I'll come straight to India Energy Week, and the last couple of days we've heard that you had various meetings with global as well as India counterparts there. Would be interesting to understand, with the kind of tie-up that you've done with BP to begin with, what does that bring to table?
So BP basically is, BP tie-up is basically for enhancing our production from our biggest reservoir called Mumbai High. So there, somehow their understanding of such kind of reservoir is seemingly better than, because of their size and the experience of the world, is better than us. So this tie-up we did basically to enhance our production substantively. It is not as incremental, small increase. We are looking at it almost, to almost near, the offer itself is 60% plus. So it is substantive demand, a substantive increase in our production from Mumbai High. With that aspiration, we got into the tie-up with BP.
Mr. Singh, I was listening to your panel where you were part in the day-to-day, and you talked about, there was a guidance cut that we heard about 2025, but on the other side, you sounded very bullish about explorations going forward.
In fact, 2-3 things. First thing, that we have total sedimentary basin of, say, 3.36 million square kilometer, and out of that almost 1/3 was out of bound. So that government released some time back, and we feel that it holds a good amount of hydrocarbon itself. It may be in liquid form, it may be in gas form. So we need to explore that very fast. And that's how we said that one of the expectations we have from IW is that last round we, to look for more partners. But for both sides to cover our, little deep water particularly, and ultra deep water was most of it. Out of 0.19 million square kilometer, that is 190,000 square kilometer, which is on block in round 10. Almost 93% is deep water, ultra deep water. So one of the expectations we have is that we will collaborate, but regardless of what happens in collaboration side, we would love to have more partners, but we'll go ahead and explore these waters, at least for country, because as a national oil company, this is our responsibility, as well as we have resources to do that.
Well, absolutely. Mr. Singh, I was reading an IEA report which says that in 2024, there was a $3 trillion of an investment in energy. $2 trillion of that went to clean energy. So as India, as ONGC, are we also aligning to that kind of quotation in sense of numbers?
It could be happening in India. I don't have numbers of India, but one thing is true.
But is it like 1:2 as we see globally?
Yeah, it was 1:1 2 years back, but it must be swinging. May not be 2:1, but definitely 1.8:1 or something. We can't. That number appears to be correct.
Okay.
So world over, investment in renewables is going up. In development and E&P space is almost 600 to 650 billion is going, remaining going in other space. So in hydrocarbon sector, it is true that it is, investment is less than renewables. And moreover, one more thing we are observing that in hydrocarbon also the stress is more on development than on exploration.
Really. Mr. Singh, when it comes to clean energy, and I keep reading your quotes, and there's a lot of conversation that ONGC seems to be doing around the gas, and with the way LNG seems to be exploding world around and the kind of import numbers that India is seeing, what numbers are we anticipating going forward from here?
So it all depends on gas price, and abundance of gas is in offing, because if you go by what is happening in some geography and what happens in Middle East, so the LNG is bound to go up substantively. In rather, it is every 25, 26, 26, 27, there should be a substantive jump in LNG availability. Definitely by 2028 March, LNG supply will be really very, very handsome. And in that space, naturally, if we are not, because if we are able to not discover big something, then our import dependence will keep going up if we want to aspire and achieve 6% to 15% of gas in our energy basket. So gas here in India, either domestic or foreign, is a very strong candidate for at least next 2 decades.
It is. And with the kind of targets that have been set for 16 until 2030, would you say are achievable from where we stand?
Whether it comes from, so if the price is, say, reasonable, then an India per capita income or economy doing well, suppose it grows at 7-8% for next 3-4 years, I see very distinct possibility, very high possibility of 2030 being the gas volume being substantively more than what it is today.
Mr. Singh, how are you reacting to the very, very volatile currency at this point in time?
For us, in fact, is something, we are domestic producer. So for us, currency really doesn't matter much, except for the fact that it hurts country. But it is also at the same time, for those who are in export business, it makes their life easier. So, but it is something that, in my view, if you ask me, substantive correction has already happened. So let's see how it goes from here.
I just want to come back to my question of MOUs and conversations that you've had around IEW. I do know that there were various meetings. I've seen you come in and out of various rooms there and doors. What is it that we're chatting with Qatar at this point in time?
Qatar is today also, Qatar is our one of the largest supplier of LNG to us. Plus also we have renewed the contract from, country has renewed all the PSUs have renewed their contract for fresh contract from 2028. So naturally, it's a very strategic and important partner. Plus, also, they also want to supply more to India, and India also is evaluating all the options. So naturally, this conversation is a good sign.
I was also hearing something, that a conversation that you had with NTPC. What was that about?
No, NTPC, we formed a company with NTPC.
Right.
And we are in the process of acquiring I don't know how to term it, big or small, but a company which is having almost 2 gigawatt of producing renewable, and another 2 to 3 in the making. So you'll hear soon.
All right. Mr. Singh, again, a lot of conversations around IEW do suggest that while the central policies are amazing and in line with what the companies want, the concerns are really sometimes with certain states. Would you agree to that?
Is this something that, we have a federal structure. So naturally, sometimes interest clashes. So naturally, it has to be navigated through some negotiation and process of ultimate understanding. It is what is good for the country and what is good for the state. So somebody may be having some wrong understanding, but if it is somebody becomes irresponsible, both pay a price. If it is responsible, understanding the whole context, then it's good for us, good for state, good for central government. So, but these don't bother you much, because ultimately it gets sorted out.
All right. While there has been lots said about on when the oil demand will peak out and what the way countries are really trying to make their mix, would you say it's more regional, trying to get into the global as a space? Every country really seems to be trying their own mix. How would you describe India's mix currently, and where are we headed?
See, we'll continue to grow in oil, at least as you know, last year we grew by 3 to 4%. I don't foresee growth coming down below 3 to 4% for India.
Until?
But at least for next 10 years.
Okay.
But I don't foresee the same growth for other geographies. Rather, I'll be very surprised if the 3 largest or 4 largest economies of the world, if they grow at all. So now it depends on, developing world versus developed world. And if, you may be fully aware that push in 2 geographies are very strong towards renewable. So what is happening in those 2 geographies are definitely, I can't predict when will peak oil happen, but India, I think peak oil is far away. But globally, maybe peak oil is very close.
All right, so when it comes to India, well, the conventional energy growth is estimated 3 to 4% at least for next 1 decade is what the ONGC head tells us. Well, on that note, it's time for a short break, but don't go anywhere. We get you more conversations with leaders from the energy sector when we return. Welcome back, and let's now shift focus to startups that are making news in energy space. Navgati, which is a finalist at IEW 2025, has secured funding also from GAIL. The company's fueling app already has 2 million users and aims to get that figure to 5 million by the end of this year. Listen into my conversation with the company's CEO, Vaibhav Kaushik.
Navgati is India's first fuel aggregator startup. So what we essentially do is that we have a consumer-facing offering that people use to navigate to a station on their route. So assume that you're going from Delhi to Jaipur. You would want to know which station on your route has CNG availability, and what is the fuel price, right? So all that information is provided by Navgati. Every fuel station in the country is listed on the app. Okay. And we have close to 2 million users. This is on the consumer side of things. But as you rightly pointed out, as a startup, making money from consumers is a very, very big pain point, right? So we primarily charge the companies, oil and gas companies, a small subscription fee to monitor their outlets and provide insights to them. Okay. So every outlet in the country has cameras as mandated by the government, but those cameras are not used to actually generate insights. So we use the existing infra, cameras, dispensers, compressors, to tell the company these are your repeat customer rates and these are the things that you can do to improve your sales.
Okay. So what is the plan from here? Is this going to be the business, or are you looking to expand it, grow further from here?
So, we effectively control both the demand as well as the supply. A close parallel to this would be Zomato for, buying food, actually ordering food. So in our case, we want every fuel station in the country to be onboarded onto our B2B vertical SaaS offering. We call it Aveg. And every consumer, whoever buys a new car or a new bike, should have Navgati fueling app, right? All fuel types, petrol, diesel, CNG, electric, even hydrogen. We saw a lot of hydrogen companies here. Even if, hydrogen powered vehicles are there, you would, presumably use Navgati fueling app to navigate to a station. And we intend to go global. We are setting up entities in Sri Lanka, Malaysia as we speak, right? To take this product global. Yeah.
So how many consumers do you have following you on your app right now, and is there a target there?
So we've reached 2 million users all organically, right? We want to reach about 5 million consumers in India by end of this year.
Also, India's hydrocarbon story is 50 years old, but the pace has picked up in the last decade or so after introduction of new hydrocarbon policy as India reads for cleaner energy. Let's listen in to Dr. Pallavi Jain, IAS DG at Hydrocarbons, on understanding policies and plans for the sector. What would you say on what kind of strides or leaps or progress has India made in this sector?
India has been singing or talking about its hydrocarbon story for nearly 50 years, more than 50 years now. But a very important step was taken about 10 years ago when a new policy for hydrocarbon exploration called Hydrocarbon Exploration and Licensing Policy was introduced by the government, which is a marked departure from the earlier policy, which was a production sharing contract regime, if I may call it that. And now it's more modern, in which there's only a revenue share involved, and there's also a lot of substantial ease of doing business. So the 26 basins of India, they are now attracting a lot of investment into this field, and we are very hopeful that the production, which is important, the hydrocarbon exploration and production, which is important for the energy security of the country, for providing affordable access, that is something which we are well on our way to establish.
There's one thing called availability, and then affordability, and then commercial affordability. Where would you put hydrocarbons to right now?
Hydrocarbon, whatever is explored in India, produced in India, that is eminently affordable. And in fact, a company which is going into hydrocarbon production does it on the basis of commerciality, only if it's commercially viable. I should also mention over here that a lot of freedom now has been given by the government for pricing. Earlier there used to be a lot of pricing controls, who you can sell it to, at what price you can sell it to. All that has been opened up. So companies are free to explore who to sell their production to, and that is giving them much better returns.
Well, from hydrocarbons, let's look at the role of digitization in the energy transition. In an exclusive conversation with me, G. Balaji of ABB India underlined the key applications that can be used in energy transition, which broadly include forecasting demand and maintenance of assets in the sector.
There are two aspects to digitalization, I would say. The whole energy transition is being supported by digitalization. This is happening in many ways, I would say, but especially around when you talk about distribution of petroleum products, especially the natural gas. There is a lot of application towards predictive maintenance of assets that is distributed geographically, ability to forecast the demand for the future depending upon what's the demand that has been in the past. So a lot of niche opportunities to apply digital solutions in the distribution network.
Where would you say has India made progress when it comes to this?
In terms of energy transition, I would say that India has leapfrogged in many ways. Not many countries have an energy mix that India has. Right, in terms of the conventional energy to the newer energy, renewable energy inclusive of solar. So not only while we're making very fast strides in renewable energy, India has also been relying on utilizing natural gas as a medium of energy transition. We clearly see actions on the ground to move from a higher carbon fuel to a low carbon economy. Right. So I think in terms of adoption of natural gas, piped natural gas, compressed natural gas for automotives, to LPG for the rural, I think a lot of progress has been, a lot of actions has been done, not just words.
And as renewables took center stage at IEW, Sumant Sinha of Renew tells us that India renewable story is becoming bigger. He added that if the government wants to meet its 2030 targets, it will need to set platform for better transmission, higher availability of land and grid management.
Renewables in India is a very well understood story. It's something that the government has been very actively pushing for several years now, and it's becoming bigger. It's becoming a more central part of India's energy sector, and I think the fact that it's becoming a central part of the conversations here, which is India Energy Week, just tells you that same story. And I'm glad to see that, because obviously for India there are a number of reasons why renewables has to be important. Apart from the fact that it's cheap, it's good for the climate, there's the energy security angle, there's a national security angle. So I think from all standpoints, renewables certainly for India works extremely well.
How would you say was the year 2024 for you as Renew, and what are your plans now for this year?
I think for us the year was quite good. We added almost 2 gigawatts of capacity in the last financial year, which was a pretty steep increase from previous years. And I expect for us to keep going at that or at a higher pace than that in the years to come. We won a lot of new capacity that was auctioned off. So while we have 11 gigawatts of commissioned capacity, we have another 15 gigawatts that is in the pipeline of projects that we've won, where partly the PPAs have been signed, partly they will get signed. So we made a lot of progress in terms of crystallizing our growth ambitions a little bit more clearly.
What's your sense with the kind of targets that Minister Puri put out for 2030, and then there is this net zero until 2050? How are you looking at those numbers going?
Yeah, so look, I think that India's, if you just look at the basic numbers, India's electricity demand is growing at about 6 to 7% a year. Just to meet that demand growth from renewable energy, which is the cheapest form of new electricity in India, therefore naturally should be the first port of call for meeting this demand growth, we will need about 60 to 70 gigawatts of new capacity of renewable energy. Clearly we're not going at that pace. So if anything, we need to ramp up the execution capacity that we're doing every year up to 40 to 50, which is really what the government's target is. And if we do that in the next couple of years, that will allow us to reach the 500 gigawatt target that the government has set. But I think I'm also conscious of the fact that even beyond that, we need to keep growing at very, very significant levels. And we'll almost need to add 500 gigawatts every 3 to 4 years after that of new renewable energy capacity. So we need to set the platform for that growth now over the next 4 or 5 years.
Well, that's all the conversations at India Energy Week. And on that note, it's a wrap on Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.